Hi there folks, this is Big Doug Outdoors. Today we're going to do a review on how to break down, clean, and put back together your Abu Garcia Pro Rocket. And then the only difference between this and a standard Abu Garcia is two things. First thing is going to be your bait clickers over here. On your standard Abu Garcia, your bait clicker is up here on the rail up here. And also, this has two tensioners on here. You got one on this side, as you can see there, and one here. That's the only difference between the two. There will be probably a part 1 and 2 and 3 because it does take time consuming. I'm going to try my best to just do it in 1 and 2, but if there's a 3, I'll let you know in part 2, okay? So let's jump on in and get to working on it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with taking the reel apart because it's really simple and easy. Some people may think it is, but to me it is. You just break this down off of here. You unscrew this. Screw out, and this here pops off. It being a little pickle. Break that off there. Set that down. And what that's for is, folks, that helps keep your nut coming back out on your reel. And it's very important you keep that together. And I use a little Loctite when I put it back together. And break this down. Take this off. Take a little nut off there. And be careful, don't lose nothing. And then I take my little handy dandy screwdriver. And you got this before I take it off. There is a C-clamp. You can barely see it there. That helps holds tension on here and keeps the reel handle from falling completely off too as well. So you got to take that and be careful with it because you can lose it and it pops right off that easy. As you can see right there it is. There's a little C-clamp. Take that off, set it down. Your reel handle will come right on off there. See how easy that was? And then you got this here. That there, it just kind of puts spring loaded on your, keeps you from backing your star drag out all the way up against your reel handle. It's important that you don't do that. You unscrew this here. And this is the easy way of taking this apart. I want to show you guys that. Set that down right there. And then the next thing is, take this cap off. And it's kind of a little pain because, as you can see, this little plastic, this is a little clamp that clamps onto that is your rod that runs through your spool. We'll do this here. We'll screw that. Screw this here. All you have to do is just loosen it up and you can unscrew it the rest of the way. It's got a slotted screw. This is the newer style, I think, because the older one, I do have an older Abu Garcia, and these screws, they're actually nuts, inserted nuts, that don't come out, and that's what tightens this to the frame. And you just gently pull this completely out like that. We'll go ahead and take this apart here. Just got two little screws, you can see here. So sorry that my camera don't zoom in, but I use my cell phone to do my videos with until I can get the software and all that to start using my video camera. I do have a video camera, by the way. I just don't have software to download to YouTube, so I use my cell phone right now. You take those two little screws out, and then when you take this off, you want to set it down facing down away from you, because it's got a little thing here. I'll show you. It just pops off there real easy, like so. And I'm not going to clean it because I've already cleaned it. I'm just going to take it apart and show you the things you should clean And then you flip this back upside down like this, because there is two little, this pops right on out. And be careful inside there's bearings, and I'll show you real quick. With this star drag, this reel thing has an extra little locking mechanism, I guess what you want to call it. And then what this here, when you take this out, be very careful with this. This is your gear that goes to your reel handle. As you can see, your reel is kind of got flat side on one another, on each side of it. And that goes to your reel handle, mounts to that. This has a bushing, and I'll show you. It's a little brass bushing. You can see it on the end of there, and you can push it off there. Show you what it looks like. It's real teeny tiny. Be careful, don't lose that, because that helps. And I'm gonna put it right back on there. That's is to keep a spacer. It's basically a spacer for your reel. And then this here just comes right on off, and then your spool will come off with it. And then one thing I did forget to do on here, I'll show you guys. I did forget to put a little lube on the bearings. And what you do is you take your little handy dandy screwdriver and you pop this out, and it pops out, and then the bearing will come out, and there's a bushing on behind that bearing as well. So be careful, don't lose it. It's a little copper bushing. And then this pops off of there, and there's a bush. There's your other little bearing. And I forgot to put oil on them, so we're going to go ahead and do it. Even though I've already cleaned this, we'll go ahead and put some oil on this. I did forget to do that, so just put you one little dab of oil. Don't take a lot. Keep your finger over there on that hole, or the bearing will fall out. One little dab there. That helps work that bearing. And then we'll just clean this off. This is for, it snaps in here. This is basically there. And then what you do is you want to wipe all this down and everything. See, already got oil on it. Everything done oil, greased it up. You put grease on here. You push this in, push the clicker in, and then you put a little grease on here as well on that post. And then what we do, you put it back together. And I don't take that apart as well. This here, I do not take off of there. That is to your cast button. And it's a kind of a pain in the butt to put back on. And then you're going to go here, and we're going to go ahead and take this plate off. It's just got 3 little screws. And you don't want, when you put these back together, you do not want to tighten these screws down too tight. Because then it puts pressure on the plate up against your bearings. And it won't, and your bearings won't work. We'll just unscrew these all the way. Sure you don't lose your screws. And I highly recommend getting some extra replacement parts like these. This is the basic things like the screws, because you can lose them real easy. Your bushings, you can find them off of any part store. You can find on just Google replacement parts for Abu Garcia Pro Rocket 6500. It doesn't matter what year. It's basically the same thing. Just back your screws out. And this here just pops off. And this here is your bait clicker, as you can see down in here. That's your clicker there. That's what makes your click, click, click noise. Take your worm gear off. Again, I can't zoom in on this stuff, so bear with me. You can see there's a little clip here that just pops out, and then it's got a little slot here and a slot up here at the top. And then this, I should have done this first, but let's pull it over here. We'll take out a pommel and unscrew this screw real quick. We'll just unscrew it. This is a cap that kind of helps hold your pommel in there. Be careful, that'll fall right out of there. So will your pommel. Give it a little bit of wiggle, it pops right off there. And this comes right off. And then what you want to do is be careful when you take this apart, because on this end is a bushing over here, and that bushing will fall off. And you need, it's very important to have that. And then what you do is you clean this out inside this sleeve, and then you wipe the bearing, this gear off here, because what you're trying to do is get all the dirt off and everything, because when you get out there fishing, sometimes it can be very dirty. And you, after you get done, you put it back together, and I forgot to tell you, you put your little bit of grease here on this end, and that slides in that plastic sleeve on that other side, well, bushing, I mean. And then it pops in, and then you put your little bit of oil in here, set it upside down like this, and kind of work that oil in to there. And then after you get that done, to put it back together, because every now and then, I don't usually wipe this down unless it's necessary. And I forgot to do something, folks, so I mean, we'll clean this out real quick. We'll run this down in here. This will clean that out. I'll tell you what that's for here. You can see it's dirty. Anyways, you put this back in here, and as you can see, there is a hole, perfect round circle, round hole there. And this side, it's kind of slotted a little bit, as you can see. It ain't the same, it ain't perfectly round, and there's a reason. Yeah, the round side, you put your worm gear back in after you cleaned it up and put it back together. And then this side, you put your line guide in here, and it goes in a certain way, and it could be a little pickle. As you can see, it's rounded up here on your line guide. It's got a little slot that goes in, and I'll show you that little slot here in a minute. There's a little slot, as you can see, that rides in up and back and forth. And you don't really need to put anything in there. Alright, folks, you don't need to put any grease or oil or anything. You don't want it in there. And you put that in like so. And you immediately want to put the clip back on. And this is your clip. Remember, I'm showing you it goes on. You can see this little, looks like a screw, but it's a little stud that sticks out. It slides in there, and then this slides around, and then you push this down right here, and it slides right in. And that locks it in place. It won't come back off. That's what that's for, as you can see. You put your little pommel. That's what the little pommel looks like. It's rounded. That rounded end goes back down in there, and it attaches to the your worm gear. You put it in and kind of wiggle this back and forth, and you can see there's a groove on the end of that pommel. Well, that's got to be even. There we go. As you can see, it slides back down, and it's right there to this little groove at the end of that pommel. And then you take, this is called your cap, or nut, as you want to say, whatever you want to call it. And then you take your little slot, your flathead screwdriver. Make sure you don't get the thread, because my hands are big, and I've done this for a while. It takes a little while to get used to it. You don't want to cross thread it or anything. There we go. You screw it back down on there. Then you kind of torque it a little bit. Not a lot, just enough to where it ain't going to come back off here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead, stop the video here.